Hi, I'm Samhitha, and today I'll be running you through my VGSoM interview experience, which happened around this time last year. I hope it helps you with your preparation this year. To set the tone, there were three professors who took my interview, and the first professor, he was mostly asking profile-based questions. He started off the interview by asking me to introduce myself. Now, for introduction, I have three basic points. The first would be to try and keep it as brief as possible and don't go to your CGPA level, right? And the second would be try and highlight your strengths as much as possible because you will be asked further on about the same. And the third would be try to be able to back up whatever you say in your introduction. So these are the three basic points with respect to introduction. And then the second professor, he mostly asked me domain specific questions. So since I was back then working as a subsea design engineer with an oil and gas firm, I was asked to draw and explain how oil is extracted from a subsea environment. And most of the questions revolved around the same. So for domain specific questions, my advice would be to know what you are doing in the company and also why you're doing what you're doing in the company. Also try to be aware of what's happening around the world with respect to your domain. So that would be it, and that would suffice. And the third professor mostly asked me economics and finance related questions, also certain GK questions. So to put it in a nutshell, he asked me about net present value, what IRR, that is internal rate of return, means. He also asked me the difference between GDP and GNP and what are the components in GDP. So that was one question I got. So that was it. And I was asked to list 5 unicorns which were upcoming back then in India. And apart from this, the first professor, he concluded the interview by asking me profile-based questions again. So he asked me to summarize one book that I'd recently read, since I'd mentioned it in my introduction. And that's why it's very important to back up whatever you say. And also he'd asked me certain aspects of my NGO that I'd worked with. So that was the end of the interview. And this is my interview experience in a nutshell. I hope it helps you. And all the best for your interview.